Hi, it's Dr. Davis. Welcome to the words of A. Davis Smith. Today we're discussing that we're all dating wrong. Time to light them up. Let's get it started. So in this video entitled We're All Dating Wrong, we're going to talk a little bit about the world of dating and why so many folks are approaching it in the wrong way. So this is a four-part video series that's going to cover the following things. We're going to talk a little bit about the true difference between dating and a relationship, something that a lot of folks get confused, the difference between a relationship and dating. We're also going to talk about the actual purpose of dating, something that people often get wrong. Also, why are we dating? What is the purpose of dating? We're going to offer a new set of dating approaches that we should consider when dating that looks at matching seriousness level of relationship to financial commitment and sexual interaction. So once again, balancing, how serious the relationship is versus what we're giving in the relationship. And then lastly, I'll make some suggestions for us to get more out of our dating experiences, factoring in the other things that we should be looking at. So once again, what we're doing wrong as we're dating. Because clearly, when we're talking about dating, there has to be a better way. So many folks are dissatisfied or running, screaming from the concept of dating or the idea of dating. So there's clearly a lot going wrong in the dating world. There's a lack of data that shows that black relationships are in trouble. And it's due to a lot of factors, a lot of things are going on to affect this. But I think it's largely because the wrong people are getting involved with each other, and we're not doing a good enough job of figuring out who's right for us and who's wrong for us. There's not enough due diligence. Folks aren't really putting in the work to figure out compatibility, and so these things I think are resulting in a lot of bad relationships that end up in bad marriages. Dating relationships are not the same thing, although people regularly use them interchangeably. So people will say dating, relationship, I'm dating a relationship, as though they're the same thing, and they really aren't. So we're going to talk a little bit about clarity about those concepts and make sure we are all on the same page when we're talking about dating or relationships. And then the amount of time that you spend in any of the particular stages of the dating or relationship cycle should be fixed and mutually agreed upon. Both people in the relationship should be on the same page about what's going on. There's a conversation that's had that says, we are this, we are girlfriend, boyfriend, we are just dating, you are my fiance. Once again, there needs to be a common understanding and common agreement about what phase of the dating cycle that we're in, or relationship cycle that we're in. So once again, make sure there's clarity and mutual agreement. So, as kind of the core premise of this video, most people are dating wrong because there's a failure of a sincere effort to get to really know each other throughout the cycle, throughout the relationship cycle. So there isn't a lot of genuine give and take, genuine sharing of information that allow each other to make an informed decision about whether or not we are compatible with each other. Some men are consistently giving women the wife treatment related to financial access too soon in a relationship cycle. So once again, men are treating women that they're dating as though they're the wives. And there's an expectation from some women that they should get this wife treatment, although it's an early date. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Once again, there's a disconnect between the level of relationship that we're in and the expected or given financial gifts that are shared at a particular level. And once again, these things are happening as early as the first date, which is crazy to me. And then we're also going to talk about how some women are consistently giving men the husband treatment related to sexual access too soon in a relationship cycle. So once again, they're giving them husband goodies early on in the relationship. Once again, as soon as the first date, and it doesn't really align with their level of the level of sexual access that they're giving to these men doesn't really align with where they are in the relationship cycle. There's a huge disconnect. Um, and there's a huge flaw in expending financial or sexual resources, a huge flaw in giving so much of yourself either financially or sexually in a way that exceeds where you actually are in the relationship. And so there really needs to be a better understanding of where we are and a more appropriate giving of items of value to the other person to make sure it's in alignment with where we are in the relationship cycle. So we're gonna talk a little bit about dating, how it is versus how it should be. So there are problems with current dating, how we currently date, how we approach the dating process. And so current dating is primarily about impression management. There's more of a focus in dating on I'm going to impress you. I'm going to show off for you. I'm going to wow you with the greatness that is me. And in doing so, I'm going to win you over. And so, there's a tendency to show off or misrepresent self, all in an attempt to impress you. Impression management is the concept that we talk about in terms of manipulating how you perceive me, how you look at me in a way that may not be consistent with how I really am. And that's how current dating is. It's a big show on the front end. And then, how it should be more like you conducting a job interview where you're trying to spend all your time learning whether or not the candidate, the person that you're considering, is an appropriate fit for you. So it shouldn't be about trying to impress the person. It should be about trying to screen this person, getting as much information from this person that you can get in order to make a determination about whether or not there should be another date. And that's the purpose of dating. Dating is about making a determination by the end of this date as to whether or not there should be another date. And that doesn't happen. And so that's the mindset shift that we need to have when we date. It's about figuring you out and seeing if you're worth my time. And so once again, there's a desperate need for recalibrating how we're thinking about dating and romantic relationships. And so to do this, I want to suggest a couple of approaches that may help in this regard in terms of really, really qualifying the appropriateness of giving at any particular relationship cycle level. So that's what we're going to talk about. So for the men, we're going to focus primarily now on the men for a minute. And we're going to look at dating from what men could do differently in the dating. Once again, dating being the process of getting to know the person well enough, asking the right questions, looking at the right behaviors to once again make a determination about whether or not you want to see this person for another date. So it's a series of interviews to figure out whether or not you want to see this person again. And so I kind of like the little quote, I've got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. So you need the fellas to once again have your mind on your money and your money on your mind. So what I'm proposing is a model of several packages that are available to women that we're dating. And so the model says that there should be a level of things that we're willing to do based on where we are in terms of our interaction or our level of involvement in the relationship cycle. So during the first phase, when you're first dating someone, I'm calling this the bronze package. Give the woman the bronze package. So it's kind of the early phase of let's go out, let's get to know each other, let's date. Once again, this is actual dating. During the dating phase, once again, this happens at the beginning of the relationship. And once again, the sole purpose of this process is to see if there should be a next date. I'm making a determination based on the data, the information I gather about you, about whether or not we're enough of a fit to want to see you again to gather more information. My suggestion to the gentleman is that the very first date should be of nominal cost. I think it should be coffee dates or dessert dates. You shouldn't be investing a lot of money on the first date. You don't know this woman. It doesn't align with where you are. So going all out on the first date, the Ruth Chris, the Mortons, the Papados, like those don't make sense to me. So your first date should be a nominal cost to you. Dates 2 to 4, they can be lunch dates. I'd set a reasonable limit, $60 for a lunch date, $100 for a dinner date. And I know this is going to be very unpopular with the women, but it isn't about them. It's about, once again, you investing in the relationship, the dating, at a level that's comparable to where you are in it. You're just getting to know this person. And really, if dating is about getting to know someone, it shouldn't matter where you go. And so if you're getting a lot of pushback about, well, I want to go here, I'm a 5-star type date woman, then that probably isn't the kind of woman that you want to be dealing with. Once again, if it's truly about getting to know you, it shouldn't matter where you go. You should be able to go to the library. You should be able to do a picnic in the park. So once again, if you're getting pushback from where you're suggesting to go on dates, there should be some red flags there. Dates 5 to 7, I think you should be a little bit more comfortable with spending a little bit more money. You've made decisions to get to date 5 through 7, and so there's clearly something there that you're liking about her that's encouraging you to continue to see her. Hopefully, it's beyond just the physical. That there is a you've learned enough about her. There's enough compatibility that you're interested in continue to see her. So I think going a little bit above that. But once again, it still needs to be in alignment with your budget. You shouldn't be breaking the bank trying to impress someone on these early datings. You're just trying to get to know the person. Little guidance for the fellas: do not take a woman to the movies for a date. You can't possibly get to know someone sitting in the dark quiet. So once again, you want to have interaction. You want to be able to talk to her, to learn about her, and also for her to learn about you. So you can't do that sitting side by side in the dark. Movies are not interactive activities. You want to find activities or events that encourage or force conversations where you've got to talk, where you've got to learn about each other. In general, I don't think the dating phase should exceed 10 dates, or it shouldn't last longer than 3 to 4 months. Once again, you don't want to waste her time. You don't want to waste your time because you're indecisive. It should be pretty clear by dates, 5 to 7, whether or not this is something that you want to proceed with or not. So don't drag it on if it's not what you're really interested in. Cut it off if it doesn't meet what you need. Then focusing up on the next level, we talk about the silver package, having a woman who's entitled to the silver package. I typically think about this phase as you've made the decision from phase one for or the bronze level, the bronze package, that she's someone that you like, and so this is kind of the girlfriend phase. You're interested in having a serious committed relationship with this woman. Once again, with the same goal to figure out whether or not she's ultimately wife material. So you're doing the same investigation. You're asking deeper questions. You're asking more profound questions to once again to determine whether or not that alignment, um, that fit is there, and for kind of a more long term thing. So the silver package expands a bit on the bronze package because you already know about the basic things, which is why you're contemplating her being your girl. And so you get to go a bit deeper and figure out once again, is she wife material? You want to know behind kind of these feelings. You need to kind of push the feelings aside. Do the two of you make sense on paper? Do you have enough things in common to build a long-term relationship with, or are there warning signs already there that you don't value money the same way, you don't value time the same way, respect, or any of these things? And once again, does it make sense on paper for you two to be together in a relationship? Once again, common values, aligned beliefs. Are these things there that make a longer term prospect possible in the relationship cycle? Um, she's now your committed partner, so you can splurge a little bit more in terms of your spending. Once again, you're not breaking the bank because once again, this is your girl, not your wife, and so your spending should be reasonable. And you want to make sure that you're investing in the relationship at the level of the relationship. You may want to do some trips together, but I would limit trips to long weekends in the early part of this phase, and maybe expanding it to week-long domestic trips towards the end of the phase. So once again, you're not taking her to Paris, you're not taking her to France. Um, in the domestic trips, I would add a short week Caribbean trip, Bahamas, Barbados, those kind of trips. I think are cool. I think they're reasonable, given that this is your girl. Once again, no international trips, no truly international trips at this phase. That's something that you do with a much more committed relationship, or you should do with a more committed relationship. Also, no big expensive purchases, no jewelry, no shoes, no bags. Don't let her get her bag on you. Um, Once again, those things aren't appropriate for someone that's just your girl. Why invest so significantly so early when it still very well could not work out? And so why are you once again breaking the bank for a woman that is not your wife? And also, no living together. You don't move in with your girl. Too much can go wrong. Too many things get intertwined and mixed together, and so you do not want to do the living together thing with your girlfriend. In general, I don't think the girlfriend phase really should last much more than 6 months. If you're serious about your search and you're really, really doing your due diligence to figure out whether she's worthwhile, you should figure out whether or not she's wife material in about 6 months. And so at the 6 month phase of girlfriend, you're ready for a decision about whether or not to marry this woman or cut her free. And then, assuming that you move forward with the marry this woman, you get down on one knee, she becomes eligible for the gold package. And this is the point of relationship where you ask her to marry you, because you've successfully navigated both the dating phase and the girlfriend phase with her. She's made it through those phases. You're very certain that she's the one for you. And so once again, you're doing your final check and balance, your final assessment for mutual compatibility. Is she really the one that I could spend the rest of my life with? And so, kind of a question that I give the guys to ask is that, assuming that things don't change with her for the next 10 years, assuming things don't get any better or get any worse, can you live with what you're living with now for the next 10, 15 years? If the answer is no, there's no reason to believe that she's going to change, and so you probably don't want to marry her. If the answer is it's good, then fiance time it sounds like it's appropriate. Um, at this phase, at the fiance phase, paying for international trips together is on the table. You should be willing to do that for someone who's your fiance, taking her to Paris or these other places. Living together becomes a possibility at this phase. I think it's a good way of getting more data, more information about her, so you can make your final call or pull out if you need to at the last minute if it's not going to work out. You should still not intertwine your finances. Once again, separate accounts and separate banks and separate money. Once again, those things, unless you're married, and even during marriage, become hard to disentangle. And so I still keep finances fairly separate in the situation. And I believe that the engagement phase really shouldn't last more than a year. I don't see the need to be engaged with someone for 4, 5, 10, 15 years. You should be able to get married within a year of being engaged, is my suggestion. And then level 4, she's your wife, so she gets the platinum package. This is the easiest phase to describe. You give her the keys to the kingdom. She gets it all. She gets access to all of you, all your resources. This is your wife. You should be looking to blend your life fully and feel absolutely comfortable with the choice that you made because you went through the various steps with seriousness and with intent, and you gathered all the information that you needed to get you to this point. This woman is as well vetted as can be. And so I think at this point, you should feel pretty comfortable with where you are and the decision that you've made. So those are the 4 proposed levels or packages depending upon where you are in the relationship cycle. So once again, making sure that you're matching what you're giving in terms of access to your resources and time and money based on where you are in the relationship cycle and not giving more than that cycle than that level calls for. And now I want to take a second to kind of look at dating from a female perspective, from a woman's perspective. Citing or quoting my girl, WAP I guess is what's happening at this phase. And so I really want to talk about, the phases that a woman can go through or should go through. Once again, aligning her behavior with where she is in the relationship cycle. And so once again, making sure she's giving appropriately based on where she is in the cycle. And so we look at kind of level 1 for women, and you'll see this model directly aligns or matches the levels identified for the men in the prior section. And so level 1, the bronze package, keep your hands to yourself, mister. And so once again, this is a dating phase where the goal, once again, is to get information about the individual to make a determination about whether or not there should be another date. And so you're driven by a desire to gather information, gather facts, not the impression management that I talked about earlier, but once again, your goal is to gather information to make a determination of, do I want to see this joker again? That's what you're driven by. So when I'm telling the women, and this is once again maybe unpopular, I'm not strictly telling you what to do with your body. It is your body, your choice. But and we'll talk a little bit later about some of the things that come from those choices. But once again, my suggestion to you is that your first date should be strictly platonic. Sleeping with a man on a first date can often be really bad news. I know a lot of men, and I count myself among them, that a woman that I slept with on the first date automatically is not wife material. because I'm going to assume she sleeps with everyone on the first date. I'm not going to be delusional and believe that I'm so wonderful and fabulous and amazing that she did something with me that she never does before. I'm a psychologist. I believe that behavior is consistent. So if you'll sleep with me on the first date, you may have had a date yesterday, you slept with Jim, and the day before that, you slept with Bob. And so sleeping with a man on the first date that you're interested in trying to get to know for a long-term relationship is not a good look. So my suggestion once again is the first date should be strictly platonic. Handshake, fist bump, whatever it takes, low level contact, no bumping uglies. Um, I think dates 2 to 4 should be limited to physical contact like hugging or a kiss on the cheek. Maybe general kissing or low level kissing. Once again, you want to make sure that you're giving to the man what's consistent with where you are in the dating cycle. You don't know this dude. You're getting to know him. Take it slow. He'll respect you more for it in general. And once again, you're giving what's appropriate for the level of the relationship. Dates 5 to 7 may be a little bit more intimate, but nothing beyond kissing. Once again, I wouldn't suggest let him hit a home run. Third base may be the limit to how far he can go. Um, you don't want sex or the possibility of sex to cloud your process of getting to know each other, to cloud your judgment. Oh, he was the bomb in bed. I love him. Or whatever it is. Once again, the longer you keep sex off the table, I think that the better you are to focus on the getting to know him, getting to know each other part, and it gets less cloudy and confusing about what's really going on, and how to figure out the best way to navigate. Do I want to see this dude again? If the sex is bomb, he may be a trash conversationalist, but you're thinking about seeing him again for the wrong reason. It doesn't help you make a good decision. Um, Once again, you want to focus on getting to see if he's worth continuing to get to know. Is he worth your time? Time is the commodity that we can't get back. And so if you're wasting time with this joker, you're not out there finding the guy that the God has for you, the guy that you're supposed to be with. So once again, don't waste your time on a dude that isn't worth your time. And in general, once again, it shouldn't exceed 10 dates or 3 months. You should have a good idea within 10 days or 3 months about whether or not this dude is worth being in a relationship with. And so take your time, put in the effort, put in the work. Withhold the sex. Yes, it's unpopular. Even as a man, it's hard for me to even say it, but withhold the sex if you're really interested in figuring out whether or not there's long-term potential for this relationship. Assuming that there is, 3 months, 10 dates, you should be willing to move into to the silver package. Hopefully, at this point, he's feeling you. He recognizes you as someone he wants to get to know even better, and so you move into kind of this phase where it's the silver package, where I quote my boy, "It seems like you're ready." This is referred to as kind of the girlfriend phase, where once again the sole purpose is to see if he's husband material for you. Beyond feelings, once again, the same question I asked the dude. Do the two of you make sense on paper? Is there compatibility in the ways that there needs to be? Do you think about things in the same way or comparable ways or complementary ways? Once again, are you continuing to do your due diligence to figure out whether or not this dude is the right dude? Um, Once again, you should be able to get to this phase in 10 months, 3 dates, 3 months or less. During the girlfriend phase, I'm going to go out on a limb, not really. Sex is okay, but it needs to be protected sex. You don't want to have a child with a man that's not your husband. This is me and my opinion. Um, Lots of bad things happen, particularly for women, particularly for black women, when they make a decision to have a child with a man that's not their husband. So don't let the dude shoot up the club. That's not a good look. Sex is cool, but protected sex is the name of the game. It doesn't matter what he's saying, whispering, pull out all that craziness. Yeah, nah, dude. Either you strap on or be out is my recommendation. Um, Another suggestion I have for the women: don't pull out every trick that you have in your sexual freak bag. Once again, he's not your husband. Don't be spinning off the walls and I'm not gonna get graphic. Don't be going all out on a dude that's not your husband. Save something for the honeymoon. Yeah, save something for the honeymoon. Don't give him everything you got, trying to blow his mind. Once again, give him what's appropriate for the level of relationship is the key here. Um, This girlfriend phase, once again, shouldn't last more than 6 months if you're not wasting time. It's 6 months. You should have a good idea about if he got on one knee, whether you say yes or not. Once again, you don't necessarily control when he pops down on one knee, but when he does, you should already have in your mind, based on your due diligence, whether you're going to say yes or no. And then, once again, since you're not having unprotected sex at this stage, getting pregnant should not be a concern. However, as an adult, I recognize that things happen, condoms break, stuff just happens. If something unexpected happens, you don't want to have a baby with a man that's not your husband. Once again, I've said it before. You have options, and I'm not going to go into those options. I don't want to get into people's political or personal religious beliefs. I'll just say there are options, and so, but once again, I'm going to go over some of the stats related to women who have babies with men that aren't their husbands, and it's a pretty gloomy picture. So I'll talk about that later. Once again, you have options, and I'm going to leave it at that. Assuming everything goes well, you're really, really feeling him. He passing all the tests. The girlfriend process works good. The 6 months have gone by, and you're like, yeah, I think if he got on a knee, yeah, I think I'd say yes. I think I'd say yes. You're there. Takes us to kind of level 3, the gold package. I said yes. So this is kind of the fiance phase where the sole purpose, once again, is to do your final check. Even when like they're landing planes, they do like the final flight check. Are we ready? Are we all good for landing? So once again, you want to be able to see a lot more of them, and you'll get more access to them, so you get a better idea about their true personality to really help you make that final decision about whether or not you're going to walk down the aisle. It doesn't end with saying yes. You still got to get down the aisle, and so there's lots of room for changing your mind if you're not seeing the things that you need to see. Um, Once again, you should be able to get to this point by 6 months of the girlfriend phase. Once again, I still don't advise unprotected sex, but you should be more comfortable being more sexually aggressive, assertive, outgoing, wild, kinky, whatever it is. But once again, don't give them everything. Just say something for the honeymoon. Say something new and unexpected for the honeymoon. Don't give them everything. Um, you at this phase, carrying his child, you're closer to the finish line than you were as a girlfriend. Still not optimal, I don't believe. But once again, there's a certain level of comfort that can come with having a ring on and carrying his child. So I can see that. But once again, I don't think that's necessarily the best look, but or your best option. But once again, to each his or her own. And once again, as I said with the gentleman, in your fiance phase really shouldn't last more than 1 year. It should be 1 year walking down the aisle. It doesn't take that long to make plans and make the decision to do this damn thing. Then phase 4, you walk down the aisles, and I have here like you can leave out the obey part, and something that women say like I ain't obeying a damn thing. But once again, this is the wife phase, and that's your damn husband now. So all bets are off. Do whatever you want to do. Caution to the wind, freak bag wide open, spinning from the ceilings, helicopters, got whatever going on. This is your phase. This is your phase. This is where you try to get to. Let it all hang out. Do you boo, as they say. So those are the 4 levels that I propose for women. Once again, similar to the phase that I propose for men. Treating sex like the commodity it is. As a wise man once said, women control access to sex, men control access to relationships. So once again, making sure that you're giving of yourself at a level that's consistent with where you are in the relationship cycle. Can't stress that enough. Couple of key statistics I want to throw out. Once again, I mentioned earlier about some of the dangers associated with sex too soon, and sex with the wrong guy. The median age for Black women giving birth is 30. So the median age 30. 27.6% of all abortions are for or by Black women. Black women have 27.6 percentage of all abortions. 50% of Black women abort for an unintended pregnancy, and 70% of Black women having an abortion are not married. So once again, there's the pregnancies are occurring to women who don't have a husband, resulting in large numbers of abortions that are being had. Black women are the least likely group to use contraception. 83% of black women use contraceptives. All other groups are between 90 and 91%. So once again, creating a greater likelihood of black women being pregnant than any other group. Only 37% of black women who gave birth were married versus 67% of all other women. 37% versus 67% of all women. Um, the poverty rate for black women is 24% versus 14% for all women. Once again, so black women are more likely to be impoverished than all other groups of all women, all other group of women. So once again, these are things that there are financial repercussions to having, unprotected sex. And so once again, um, I can't stress enough that once again being cautious about where and when, being cautious about when you give your body. And then to talk a little bit about poverty, kind of the consequences of deciding to have a child with a man that isn't your husband. And these are very serious also. Black women are head of household with family. Black women that are head of the household with a family and no spouse, so a woman and children, um, they make up 44% of all black families, while black men with children and no spouse are only 10.3%. So 44% of all families where there's no spouse, no male in the house, make up 44% of all black households. 18.5% of all black families live in poverty versus 9.3% of everyone else. So where black folks are more likely to live in poverty. With kids under 18 years old, 26.7% of black families live in poverty. So the number goes up to 26.7% when there are kids under 18 years old. Um, they live in family. 6.7% of black married couples live in poverty, while 30.6% of females with no spouse live in poverty. Those with no spouse and kids under 18, the rate is 39.4. 39.4% of black women who have kids and no spouse live in poverty. And so once again, talk about consequences of having children with a man that isn't your husband, the likelihood of living in poverty is so much greater. And then lastly, 74% of black women households with no husband live at or below the poverty line. 74% of black women households with no husband live at or below the poverty line. 16% of black married couples live there, and 10% of black men households. So black women who have kids without a spouse, 74% of those households live below poverty. So once again, some sobering stats that I wanted to share about being selective about who you lay with, and being even more selective about whose child you carry. You should carry your children, your husband's kids. It just, the numbers just don't lie. All right, so enough of that. So I just wanted to provide some context and some data related to what I was talking about earlier. So once again, this is not to bash black women. I'm merely providing the data to illustrate the significant impact that choice has on black women as it relates to sex, and how devastating the consequences can be based on those decisions. Um, these choices not only affect a black woman's day-to-day quality of life, but can also affect the children born from these choices and generations beyond that. Additionally, research shows that how a man perceives you sexually, once again, your level of promiscuity, how promiscuous you are, can impact whether he considers you as an appropriate for a long-term or short-term partner. So what that says is that, you know, how how soon you have sex can affect whether or not a man perceives you as wife material or jump off material. So choose, make the best choices for you, but choose carefully. So that's it for the preaching part from Dr. Davis. So some homework and some takeaways that I want to leave you with. Couple of things I think that are important. Make sure that you're making dating decisions and relationship decisions that are consistent with your financial means and moral status. Don't ever put yourself in a position, or put yourself in financial or sexual jeopardy so that someone else can have a good time. Don't put yourself at risk financially or physically just for someone else's benefit. Once again, making sure that you're making good decisions about you, about and for you. Second one, invest your resources wisely. Once again, your financial or your physical resources, and in accordance with your current level in the relationship cycle. So making sure that whatever you're investing is aligned with where you are in the cycle. Don't waste resources on a person who hasn't yet shown you that they're worth the investment. They need to prove to you that they're worth whatever comes next. And so don't waste your goodies, money, sex, whatever it is, on someone who isn't worth it or haven't proven that they're worth it. Three, be willing to walk away at any point of the process from anyone who isn't compatible with what you need. You got to be bold enough and brave enough and say, I'd rather be damn alone. Karen White, I'd rather be alone. Walk away if the person isn't compatible with what you need, if they don't make sense on paper. Um, or if they seem more focused on what you can do for them than on actually getting to know you. So if their bigger concern is what can I get from you, money, sex, trip to Hawaii, whatever. If they're more concerned about that than getting to know you, you need to be out. They're not worth your time. They've shown that's the best it's going to get. Um, Also, be willing to walk away if anyone seems to not be putting in a sincere effort to get to know you. If they don't ask you a lot of questions, if they're really not spending time getting to vet you for compatibility, then they're going through the motions and they've got an ulterior motive at play. Once again, walk away, be out. That's a huge red flag. And then, kind of another thing I want to say is, altogether, we need to stop focusing on this quid pro quo, this for that, trying to get something for something. Don't equate giving up something of value with your chances to get resources or sex. So too many people think about, if I do this, I'll get this, and if I do this, I'll get that. You need to date with purpose, honor, and intention. Once again, making sure that you're dating for the right reasons. You're dating to vet this person to see whether or not there's a long-term potential there. Some more homework and takeaways for the fellas. I want to say this. Too many of you think that the money that you spend results in a greater chance at getting sex. If you're that pressed to pay for sex, just get yourself a prostitute or an escort or whatever, and stop wasting these women's time. Stop getting in the way of the good men that really want to spend time and energy with them to get to know them. Stop treating women like vending machines where you think you can stick in cash and goodies come out. So fellas, just stop. To the ladies, too many of you think that I can hook him, I can get him, I can win him if I blow his mind sexually, or if I get pregnant, then he won't leave me. So there's this flawed thinking that, I'm either going to break his back and he'll never leave me, or if I get pregnant, I've got him trapped. I've got him. Please stop using your body and the birth of children to manipulate men into being with you or getting the things that you want. Please stop using your body in that particular way. Stop treating men like ATM machines where you can press the right buttons and cash comes flowing out. So once again, to the ladies, stop that. To everyone, I say, date with purpose and intention and stop wasting your time and their time. Once again, dating with purpose and intention. I'll leave a cautionary note for men. Some women equate how much you spend on her during a date with how much you value her, or even how much she values herself. So there's in her mind, in some women's mind, the more you spend, the more you care, or the more you spend, the more you're attracted to me, or whatever it is. So they have this equation, or they feel better about themselves. Oh, girl, he spent $1,000 on dinner, and so I must be great. Fellas, you got to avoid these women at all costs because they're more interested in your wallet than they are in getting to know you. So once again, that's why I talk about, once again, making sure that what you're spending is in alignment with where you are in a relationship cycle, because there are women that are trying to take advantage, or they have this misunderstanding of what money equates to them as a person. I remember, for example, for me, a woman actually asked me when we were kind of negotiating for the first date about where to go. She asked me, when I said I wasn't taking her to Morton's for the first date, she said, aren't I worth taking to Morton's? And my response was, to be honest, I don't know. I don't know you enough to make the determination. I know what I know now. The answer is no. And so the answer may be different 6 months from now. But as of today, I don't know you well enough to know whether or not you're worth Morton's. And that's the God honest truth. And she heard me, and we ended up going somewhere that was not Morton's. So once again, being upfront and honest about, where we are in this whole thing called dating, and what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. And you take it or leave it, because I'm willing to take it or leave it. Another thing, if she starts Instagramming your date, you're at dinner, she pulls out the camera, she's taking pictures, she's streaming stuff, You should be worried because she seems to be more concerned about getting likes than in liking you. So if she's doing it for the gram, she's doing it for her girls, you should question about whether or not it's about getting to know you or about getting clicks. Just something I want to say to the fellas. We'll also leave a cautionary note for the women. Some women, some men equate how many women they sleep with and how fast they can sleep with them with how much of a man they are. Very, very flawed mentality. But there are lots of guys that think that way, that the more I score or the faster I score, the more man that I am. And this just shows you how little they have to offer you in a relationship. They're of no real value to you if that's their mindset and that's where they're coming from. So please, once again, avoid these men at all costs because they're more interested in what's under your skirt than what's in your head or what's in your heart, which is much more important. If he's constantly pressing you about Netflix and chill, you probably need to be out because he's got sex on the mind and that's where he needs to be. And there probably, isn't going to be a lot of talking during Netflix and chill as he's trying to get you into bed. So once again, those kind of dudes aren't worth your time. Don't even waste your time. Be out. Then I'll conclude, as I do sometimes, with some quotes for you to consider. Things that I think that are funny but thoughtful or thought provoking. I hope. Men will lose a lot of money chasing women, but won't lose a lot of women chasing money. So once again, focusing on going to an earlier point, my mind on my money on my mind. You once again be intelligent with your resources. Another little side quote I say: keep your mind on your riches, baby. Keep your mind on your riches. Another quote I have is: you should never have to talk yourself into trusting someone, loving someone, or forgiving someone. Your first instinct about them is probably right. So if your instinct says run, run. Don't deal with a situation that you don't feel is the right one for you. This is for men and for women. And then lastly, the truth is everyone is going to hurt you. You just have to find the ones that are worth suffering for. And the great Bob Marley said that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you find it useful, thought-provoking. Hope it evokes conversations and gets us really to reconsider how we approach this relationship cycle thing, how we approach dating versus relationships. If you like what you heard in the video, please feel free to follow me. I encourage you and hope that you'll follow me. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Words of A. Davis Smith. You can also check out a lot of my stuff. Actually, all my stuff is contained on my website, www.wordsofadavissmith.com. Once again, thank you for your time and attention. Be on the lookout for more good material. God bless.